So for today's Lunch and Learn and webinar, feel free to use the chat if you have questions. Put your hand up during the Lunch and Learn if you want to ask your question or talk through something. The whole intention of these biweekly Lunch and Learns is just to make sure that we have kind of an open forum for operators to chat about current issues and points of discussion. Operator to operator. So please feel free to use your mic and chat with us today as we go through the presentation. Today's Lunch and Learn topic is really all about compliance. There has been quite a few questions in our inbox for ACE and my personal inbox this last few weeks around regulation questions. Some changes to the regulations in Alberta have been made based on a bill that was passed, C-25, and it seems to be causing a little bit of confusion. And we don't want anyone to be, outside of compliance, especially with regulations. So that's the goal today, is to cover some of those changes that have happened to make sure that you're, up to date, and again, talk through certain situations so that you can leave feeling like you understand the regulations and that you are implementing them properly in your center. So like any of our Lunch and Learns, we have Wayne here today from ChildFriendly. ChildFriendly is sponsoring these Lunch and Learns for us in our sector every second week. And there will be a portion of this after the regulations that covers some of the features that you can incorporate into your center to really help you manage and make sure you are in compliance and reduce some of that kind of administrative burden that falls on us as operators. So this is our kind of agenda for today. The topic today is compliance made simple. Hopefully we can make it simple for you. Understanding the new Alberta childcare kind of changes that came around Bill C-25. While I say these are new, they're not completely new. They were rolled out, I believe, in the spring, around the end of April. I think most of us got some notification around this bill being passed. But we're just starting to see them kind of be implemented. And I know the big one around penalties is coming in September. So that's why we're doing this today. We're going to start with talking about those specific changes, really focusing on the hiring and supervising of minor staff and penalties for non-compliance in Alberta. Then we're just going to go to general regulations, things that have kind of always been there or been there for the last little while. These were the four main areas that people really wanted us to kind of refresh and talk about. So we're going to hit on the resting and nap to staff to child ratios, what that looks like, what the rules are around that, mixed age group ratios and rules around that, active supervision and attendance records. Then I'm going to hand it over to Wayne to go through kind of some of the resources that you could put in place that'll help you manage these things. But if there are other areas of regulations you want to talk about, again, feel free to put your hand up and use the chat today. So we'll start with the Bill C-25, sorry, June 2025 changes. Really the key changes that are being implemented under this bill, which was designed to improve quality and safety in childcare. And I generally believe that the intentions of this are really good, and we do need to have some stronger quality measures in place in our sector for sure. But some of the big changes allow for you to have youth staff in your center. There will be strict supervision standards that come with those minors working on the floor. There's definitely a stronger enforcement and accountability component to this regulations and changes. And there's some differences with transparency and communication under this bill too. So we'll touch on all of those topics today. So this is one that I've had many conversations around in the last few weeks. We actually taught a workshop last night on compliance and regulations for a center in Edmonton, and one of the big conversations was around this. So under the changes to the regulations, you are now able to hire people in your center to work on the floor in ratio that are 16 and 17 years old. It allows you to have them as primary childcare staff they have to hold their level 1. So just like any other staff, but you can count them towards staff to child ratios if they are supervised by an adult educator who is certified a level 2 or higher. So we'll go through that. I'm just going to talk a little bit about what this means. But you can have a 16 or 17-year-old staff member in your center. They cannot be left alone with children. A certified adult must always be on site nearby and available to intervene immediately. So think of it like a mentorship program that way. They have to be assigned to that adult. Minors must never have sole responsibility for supervising a group of children. Same certification path, so they can go and apply for the base court program, get their level 1, and they would be just as qualified as any other adult level 1 staff. They do have to obtain that level 1 certification like anyone else within 6 months of being hired in your center. With minors, you're not able to get a vulnerable sector search right away, but you can get a standard criminal record check. So that would have to be on file for these staff as well. And then as soon as they're 18, you would apply for that vulnerable sector search. So here's the change in supervision. Really important to really make note of this if you're planning to go this route with some of your staff in your center. So as much as you can have them on site and working in ratio, they have to be actively supervised by an adult that is certified level 2 or higher. So this supervisor has to be, in the same vicinity, ready and available to supervise and intervene when needed. So you can't necessarily have your level 2 supervisor in a different program down the hall and leave your 16, 17-year-old staff to supervise a group of children alone. You would be outside of what this is intended for and what the regulation says. Another key point to just make sure everyone's aware of, there is a one-on-one rule on this. So one certified supervisor, level 2 or higher, with one under 18 staff. So you have to have a one-to-one supervisor, mentor assigned to that minor staff. You can't have them overseeing more than one. So one thing to point out that we ran into with one of our ACE members in the last few weeks, if you are someone maybe an out-of-school care license or a preschool program that has an existing staff exemption for supervision based on different factors, a lot of our out-of-school care programs may have that. I know myself as a preschool, we've had those in place at different times. That does not exempt the supervision requirements for the minor staff. This part of the regulations is non-exemptable. So you cannot exempt this. It's not part of your staffing exemption for supervision. And if you are having a staff that is 16, 17 years old, you would still need to have that level 2 or higher one-on-one supervisor available. So if you have a staffing exemption in place, I would reach out to your licensing officer if you're planning on hiring a minor staff, and just make sure you're totally clear on how that impacts you, because you would be in non-compliance if you're not following these regulations. I did think it was important to maybe put up a few kind of scenarios about what this might look like in real life. I know sometimes it's hard to understand regulations just as they're written, and having kind of a real life scenario makes it easier for people. So I have 2 in the green that would be compliant and 1 in the red that wouldn't be. Just to let you read through them. I can read them out loud too, but Happy Days Daycare hires Jade, a 17-year-old high school student, as a classroom aide. She works from 3 to 6 p.m. with a preschool group. She is never scheduled to work unless a level 2 certified staff or higher is present in the same room. For instance, Jade assists with activities while her level 2 supervisor leads the class. Jade is not allowed to open or close the daycare alone or be the sole caregiver at any time. This way, the center follows the new rules while giving her valuable experience. So I think the key for that one is that she's not the one opening or closing. She's not alone with children to supervise them anyway, not alone to supervise the children. And there is a level 2 certified staff member in the same room as her. The next one we'll stay on the positive and go to Sunshine Daycare, who employs a 16-year-old floater and one 17-year-old classroom aide. Management schedules them carefully so each works alongside their own designated level 2 supervisor. For instance, the 17-year-old aide in the preschool room is paired with Miss Katari level 3, who stays in the same room. The 16-year-old floater shadows Mr. Lee level 2 during outdoor play, never on her own. In this correct approach, every minor staff has an adult mentor with them at all times, making sure that this is, fully compliant for the program. The one that is the example of non-compliance, and these are just made up scenarios, these are not real centers, but at Busy Bee Center, two 17-year-old helpers were assigned to the toddler room with only one level 2 supervisor overseeing both. At one point, one teen was left watching children while the supervisor stepped out to assist in another room, a direct violation of the new rules. This scenario shows what not to do. So you have 2 minors with one mentor, one supervisor, which is a non-compliance. You've also left them alone to supervise the children, which again is another non-compliance. So if you are hiring minors under this new regulation, make sure you understand the supervision rules and that you are fully in compliance and staffing it properly, just to make sure you're above board with everything and providing the quality care that children deserve in our centers. Another huge question that we have been getting is around the penalties for non-compliance. This is something that is completely new to our sector and something that is definitely causing a little bit of anxiety for people, I think, and just some concerns over what it might look like. So I wanted to make sure that we kind of covered that today, so that you guys are going into this well aware. This will be implemented, I believe, in September. So there is a little bit of time to really make sure you're understanding it. But there are some different things around the penalties. So one of them is that the director can now suspend or cancel. So by director, we mean licensing officer, can now suspend or cancel an individual educator's certificate. So if someone has obtained their certificate dishonestly or isn't meeting the qualification standards, the government can put conditions on, suspend, or revoke that person's childcare certification. This means that if you had false credentials in your center, you can actually be legally barred from working in childcare. If you have non-compliances, abuse allegations or anything like that, it actually follows you with your certification now as well. So I'm not sure if everyone here has been aware, but there is an ECE lookup similar to our childcare lookup, which is part of this new Bill C-25, and it allows for the public to be able to search an educator by name. You can view what their certification level is. You can also view whether or not their certification is in good standing. So, you as an educator are now equally responsible, like the license holder, for these non-compliances, and it can follow you around too.
That's big.
Penalties for non-compliance, again, this is another change. Now licensing officers have that direct authority to be able to close programs and close centers. So they can close one part of your center or the whole thing if there's non-compliances. In the past, it was kind of a license that was suspended. If you have, an out-of-school care program within a daycare and the out-of-school care is in non-compliance, you can have that portion of your center closed. And as long as the daycare is in compliance, they may allow you to keep that open and just close a portion of your site. They can close specific rooms or program areas as well, just for safety and compliance reasons. What else does it say? So for, under this part of the regulation, if one room has an issue, say like a health hazard, it can be closed without disrupting the whole daycare. So that's different and new. The administrative penalties. So this is the financial penalties that we have been talking about. This is up to $10,000. And that is a big one. I'm going to ask you guys to mute if you're not already muted. The background noise is very loud for me right now. But this is a new enforcement tool for fines, for non-compliances. It can be imposed on the license holder, and it can be imposed on the educators and staff. So you as an educator need to be aware that you're just as responsible as a license holder in your role and following regulations, and that you can be fined. So it's important to make sure you're aware that there is a financial penalty now attached to non-compliances. These administrative fines, will be issued for serious or repeat non-compliance. I wouldn't expect that if you have, non-compliance for an administrative thing like records, or, not having a form filled out correctly for your medication, that you would necessarily see something like this. But, if you're ignoring rules and you're not remedying things when you're asked to, if you have major non-compliances, maybe with the minor staff supervision, or children are at risk at your center, that you would likely see this. So making sure that you, if you're an operator, you are educating your ECEs so that they understand the regulations and that they're following them actively in your center is really important. Nobody wants to see huge fines on their center. I did think, maybe a scenario here would be kind of interesting to have too, just to put it in perspective of what it could look like. So the scenario that I put together is, imagine Little Stars Daycare violates the new rules by routinely leaving a 16-year-old staff alone at opening time. A licensing officer discovers this during an inspection. First, the center receives a written order to immediately stop that practice. That order might even say that the team must be removed from childcare duties until proper supervision is arranged. The statutory director, the licensing body, also decides to suspend the team's level 1 certification pending an investigation, since this is a serious breach. In addition, the license holder is hit with a $1,000 administrative fine, just as an example, for failing to follow supervision regulations. So a suggested response for this center and the director would be to act at once to reassign schedules so that any of your minor employees are always supervised by an adult, retrain all staff on the supervision policy, and reply to the authorities with a plan of correction. By addressing these issues promptly and thoroughly, documenting the fix that the center may have the suspension lifted and avoid further penalties. So something, when we do regulations training for operators and for centers, one of the things I always advise people is to remedy these things as quickly as you can, get an action plan sent to the licensing officer, and definitely take it seriously and try and work with them as much as you can. It's usually, in your best interest to do that. So this is the summary of the Bill C-25 changes. As childcare operators and people who are responsible for children and their well-being, you need to be prepared. You need to stay up to date on any changes. If you don't understand what the changes are, then you need to find out what they mean for your center, how to implement them, make sure that you're fully compliant. I would suggest too that this is a great opportunity to review and update your staff handbooks, your training and hiring practices, and make sure that everything in your center is aligned with these new regulations, that your educators are aware. If you are planning on hiring staff that are minors, make sure that the supervisors and the educators on the floor understand what the rules are for those staff as well. And just making sure that you're being proactive and on top of any kind of changes around regulations and policy. So before we move to the next section, does anybody have any questions around the new changes that we covered under Bill C-25? Anything that you want to discuss? I'm more than available to try and answer questions if I can. All right, so these were the 4 that were, Lana, did you want to ask something?
Yes, actually,
can the minor be in a ratio? Like, I know they need to have a like someone in level 2 and up to be available always on the floor, but can they be in a ratio with that level 2
Yes.
or 3?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're in ratioed staff now. That's the big change.
Okay, so
you
they are
can,
in a ratio, but they cannot stay alone without someone
they
level
can't
2 and
be
up.
alone to supervise the
Yes,
children. Yeah.
perfect. All right, thank you.
You're welcome. So these were the 4 areas that we had people who wanted just a little refresher on these. It may not be relevant to all of you, but I figured I would just breeze through them. Put your hand up if you want to talk about another one or something in more detail, and I'm happy to do that today. So we're going to start with active supervision. What the regulation says is that at all times, children must be supervised adequately to ensure their safety, well-being, and development. So you should always be able to either hear the children or see the children that you're supervising. Active supervision involves constant, vigilant positioning oneself strategically to see and hear all children clearly and promptly addressing any safety issues. Common pitfalls, cell phone use, texting in the classroom. I know we're all cringing right now. But positioning and visibility is another one that will have you kind of in an issue with active supervision, making sure that you know what's behind you, that you're positioning yourself, especially outside, to make sure you can see around play equipment, around corners, that no child is kind of in a blind spot. And that you're always counting and checking and make sure that you know where all of your children are that you're responsible for. I threw a real life example on this one. Again, personal devices in a classroom is a whole nother conversation, but anything that can take away from being vigilant, being able to actively supervise, and being aware of what the children are doing will put you at risk of a non-compliance in this area. Transitions and ratios was something too that people keep asking questions around. So, I mean, we have very strict ratios in Alberta in our regulations, all based on age group. So, for example, 1 staff to 8 children for that 3 to 4 year age group. If you're mixing age groups, then you need to be aware of how that works with regulations. And the regulation states that where a group includes children from 2 or more age groups, the ratio is determined by the age of the majority of the children. So knowing the ages of the kids, if you're mixing, especially during transition times, is really important. You want to maintain accurate ratios. You want to document the daily attendance and make sure that you know who's in your groups and what their ages are. We do see these are kind of your areas of non-compliance under this, where people are just not calculating the numbers, especially during busy times. If you're covering breaks or you're at the end of the day and you're blending 2 programs together, not knowing who's of what age and how many kids you have can really put you in trouble. So Wayne will cover a bit about this. There's some good features that you can incorporate that'll help you with managing this, but just making sure if you are blending those age groups, so you're very aware of what the ages of the children are, what the majority of your children's ages are, and you're staffing to that, so you're not in non-compliance for this. The rest and nap time, staff to child ratios. This is one that has been on our chat for the association quite a bit in the last little while. And I know that licensing officers have been very vigilant with reminding people recently in inspections on this. So you can reduce your ratios for napping if you choose to in your center during that nap and rest period. What seems to be getting people in trouble and in non-compliance is that if you have a child that's awake, that child, even if they're sitting on their cot, if they're actively awake, they're not in rest. And so they would not be able to be part of your napping and rest ratios. So you need to make sure that you have all of the children are resting, are sleeping, lying down on their cots, and intending to sleep, and it's quiet and restful in there, because otherwise if you have one child that's not, you're going to be out of ratio if you're reducing your nap time ratios. So really making sure that even just that one child that's not napping, you have a plan for them and you're staffing properly. Otherwise, this is something that is being flagged and that people are asking a lot of questions about. So I'm hoping that this helps clarify, and I'm again happy to answer any questions that you might have around this. So another question too has been around whether or not you can mix infants when you're mixing the groups, and you're not able to. So I guess the short answer to this is if you have infants that are under that 12 month of age, they're not allowed to be mixed into a combined age group between those core hours, which is 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. under the regulations. So just making sure you have that separate room, that separate program for infants under 12 months, especially during those hours. You can get exemptions, I think, for this. I've never done that. I don't have infants in my center, but if this is something you're worried about, I would suggest you talk to your licensing officer about how you can make it work in your center. Shale, you have your hand up. Did you want to ask something?
Okay. My question is regarding the first one. Suppose at the nap time in the preschool room, ratio is suppose 16 kids, 2 staff, right? And when lights are turned off, kids are on their bed. Suppose 15 kids are sleeping, but one child is awake. So do I need a 2 staff or do I need a 1 staff?
What the actual wording of the regulation is you can have relaxed staff to child ratios during children's rest periods, but only while all children in the group are asleep or resting. So if you have a child that's awake and they're lying there calmly still, not moving and not fussing, possibly they're resting. I would say as soon as a child is moving and up and awake, you need to consider that that's no longer part of the resting ratios. It is definitely something that is being brought up in different licensing inspections recently. So yeah, I would say if you have that one child that's awake, it's no longer, that child's not included in your napping ratios anymore, and you need to have another staff come in or move them to an active group.
Okay, and what about if we set up tables, quiet activities, like 15 kids are sleeping and now that one child is on the table playing quietly or curry quietly. Do I need
That
a
is
second
not,
staff?
yeah,
Okay.
that's not the wording is that all children in the group are asleep or resting. So having them at a table with quiet activities is not under that asleep or resting.
Okay,
That's
so I still need a
change.
2 staff. So
You
I
do.
still need a 2 staff. That's a change.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the
You're
answer.
welcome. Michelle, you were next. I saw your hand up next. Michelle, did you want to ask a question? Lana, you had yours up next. Did you want to go ahead?
Yes, please. The question is again about the nap time, because this is that's in that gray area, which sometimes the child is awake but sitting quietly on the mat, and we have those lamps, like table lamps, this tiny one, small one. We can put it by their mats, and they will do some activities like looking through the books, or they are drawing, or doing some calm activities, but they are sitting on their mats. Would that be okay or still out of ratio?
I would say that you're probably going to be flagged as out of ratio if they're doing activities on the mat.
Okay.
Because the intention is for them to be sleeping or resting. So, you can ask your licensing officer to verify that, but reading the regulations, what it says is only while children in the group are asleep or resting. I would say you're only able to reduce staff at a nap time when every child is peacefully asleep. So if you have someone who's up doing, books and things, that to me would be outside of sleeping and resting. and I think you would probably be flagged for that.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Michelle, did you want to ask your question now? I noticed your mic was on.
Sorry.
That's okay.
I was muted. Yes, we had the licensing officer in there yesterday, and we asked her that exact question, and she basically was 100% honest and said, basically, they need to be sleeping. Because resting, they can become active any moment, right? So then you're scrambling if you're already down to 1. So she said, until they're truly sleeping, that's what she's looking for. So I'm just telling you what she told us.
That's
even
perfect.
though it says resting,
yeah,
because that child could just get up, and then if you only have 1, then what happens? She said to us, right?
Yeah. No, so that's exactly what I've been hearing too. So I appreciate you saying that. Thank you.
Yeah. And my second part question was, infant mixing under 12 months, but what if it's still deemed to be infant from 12 to 18 months, but the older? So can they be mixed with the 18 to 36?
Yeah, as soon as they're over that 12 months, they're in that next bracket, right? So you're able to mix them as long as you're staffing it to the majority of that age. It's just that under 12 months.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm going to just take one more question on this, and then we're going to finish this section and let Wayne do his presentation, and then we'll answer all of the other questions at the end, if that's okay. So the next question I had was Perul, and then we'll move on with presentation and come back to the questions at the end.
Hey, Crystal, thanks. I think you did answer my question with Michelle's question. It was similar, that is it under 12 months or 12 to 18 months also are not able to combine between 8:30 to 4:30?
Yeah, a lot of us call infants 12 to 18 months on our, program plans and things. They're talking about your early infants. So, that under 12-month time, under 12-month age group.
Yeah, because from my licensing officer, I was told if I have to have again an infant mixed with young toddler, I need to have a variance.
That would be for this. You can get an exemption.
During the 8:30 to 4:30 p.m.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. My question was more related to the playground. If children are like young toddlers are outside in the playground, are infants allowed to be in the same playground, or it's pertaining to the rooms only?
That's a really good question. I don't know 100%.
Yeah, I've been struggling with that. I'm going to discuss with my licensing officer.
Yeah,
because after 4:30, most of our infants go. That means infants can't play outside. That's not fair.
I mean, I would interpret it as they're in their own group, under their own supervision. But I think that would be something I wouldn't want to give you 100% solid advice on. I would ask your licensing officer just to confirm it. But yeah, I'm sorry, I don't know that 100%.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Sorry, Crystal, it's Michelle again. I was told that they can be out, but they have to be separated. They have to have their own area. They can't be mixed.
Okay,
so
thanks,
they could
Michelle.
be out at the same time if they have their own space and they stay, in enough space, but they have to be completely separate.
Okay, in their own group then, for sure. Yeah. Okay, thank you. I'm glad you're here today, Michelle. So yeah, the next one and our last one of kind of our core non-compliances that people wanted refreshers on comes around administrative records and attendance. Daily attendance records must include arrival and departure times on them. How you do these things, it varies center to center depending on what you're using in your center to track things. But you do need to make sure that you have those required administrative records. So incident reports, attendance records. I know there's been some common documentation errors that always come up. Emergency contacts are one that has come up for myself in my center in the past. Making sure that you have someone who's not a parent on as an emergency contact with a address, not a PO box is also something I have had in the past. Making sure that you have your medical forms filled out properly, and making sure that you're recording everything accurately and you know how to access it if you're asked during a licensing inspection as well. And Wayne will definitely be able to talk a little bit more about this, but just general, like making sure you're up to date on what you are required for your records and your attendance in your center, because you are required to have certain administrative records and your attendance kept under the regulations for childcare in Alberta. So just some general tips. I mean, sure, most of us are aware of these things, but making sure that you're regularly training your staff on policies and documentation, providing daily checks for your supervisors to ensure that everything's, administratively under compliance. Procedures for medical administration. That's a big one, making sure you have those medical forms and the consent filled out properly, that you have the medication stored properly and the right information on that medication too. It has to be in the original packaging. Understanding that regulations is critical for overseeing quality and compliance, and making sure that you're reviewing and familiarizing your staff with regulations all the time. Things change, people forget if it's not something that's present. I think that one of the best things you can do to ensure quality in your center is to make sure that your staff understand the regulations in a practical way. They know what it means. They're not just reading over the regulations and signing a form, that they actually understand what they look like in real life and real practice. And from here, I'm going to pass it over to Wayne. And again, at the end, happy to take as many questions as you have. So Wayne, I'll pass it over to you.
Perfect. Thank you, Crystal. I'm just
You're
going to
welcome.
share my screen, take over here. Awesome. So on my end, I'm just going to take a brief moment to go over the attendance feature on our platform, which can obviously help manage compliance challenges. One great thing about using our platform is that we continuously stay up to date with regulations in Alberta. So attendance just being one aspect of this. So when it comes to attendance, once the child or staff is signed in, their attendance is tracked automatically in real time. We keep detailed attendance logs for staff and children that you can easily find, sort, filter as needed. And we also have attendance reports that you can review for your needs. Our system also ensures that ratios, which are aligned with Alberta regulations, are tracked properly on our platform. So with this, I'm just going to quickly jump onto our platform to show you how our attendance feature can deal with some of these. So I'm going to click on this, which is our child-friendly platform. So right now I'm sitting in our attendance module. I have the 3 squares up here that represent physical spaces at a center, for example. Quickly going over the colors. Green means that this room is shown to be compliant. So again, our system automatically shows whether a space is compliant right away. This red shows that this room is non-compliant. I've made a separate team in each of these rooms. This one you can see is for a kinder group. This one's for an infant group. This one for an OSC group. So the reason why we can see this is out of ratio, this icon represents staff. This icon represents children. So I have 1 staff to 5 children in this room for the infants, which, as we know in Alberta, is 1 to 4. So this room is showing as non-compliant. Of course, as Crystal mentioned, napping reduces the requirements, ratio requirements. So if I do click this nap toggle, you're able to set up a napping ratio on our platform. Once the napping toggle is set, if this is now 1:8 ratio, it'll show that this room is compliant. The other thing I do want to show again is, in this case, if I do want to do mixed age groups, as we were kind of discussing as well, here I have a kinder group with 3 children. Here I have an out of school group with 5 children. So if I do bring these children into this group to have mixed age groups, 5 will overtake the 3, and I will end up with an OSC ratio, which I will demonstrate here very quickly as well. So I'm just going to move my 5 OSC children and move them into this kinder group. So now our system finds that first there's a mixed license and the OSC ratio has overtaken this group. So you can see very easy to see in real time, as soon as you move children around for attendance tracking, ratios of all different types will be tracked very quickly and accurately on our platform. And just lastly, With regards to reporting, we do have many reports on our platform that are built to deal specifically with Alberta compliance requirements. Do feel free to reach out to me for a demo to see more of our compliance tools. And also do note on our platform, if you do have a recommendation for a report that will benefit all operators in the province, we will actually make those free of charge on our platform as well. Thank you so much. Send it back to Crystal.
Thank you, Wayne. So that's pretty much it for our lunch and learn today. The last bit is really just for some questions. So anything you guys want to ask or discuss, Wayne and I are both here and available to answer. I did put into the chat a workshop that we offer outside of this that is specific to this kind of thing, more elaborate. We go into regulations for your staff so that they can understand. So that information is in the chat. But I'll start with, is it Tanya? Tanya, did you want to ask a question? I hope I said your name close to being right.
Sorry, my
That's okay.
screen just froze. Tanaya, yes. Hi.
Tanaya.
I'm just going to ask a basic question that I already put in chat. Like, what is defined as resting? Like, let's say if they are sleeping on their cots or mats, and if they have their eyes open, is that still considered as resting?
I mean, Michelle brought up what her licensing officer just had told her. I think that when they are not asleep, you're really kind of in the gray area. If you think that they're falling asleep and they're going that way, then I think you're probably safe in that. But I would say if you have children that are still awake, you need to be, vigilant in what you're going to do. If one of them gets up and you're suddenly out of ratio, do you have a staff that's available to come in right away? Because if you don't, every moment that you're by yourself with that child who's out of their cot or sitting up or awake, you're out of ratio and you're in non-compliance. So it's a gray area. I don't have an answer for you about what resting is, but I think that from what Michelle had said and what we've seen in our inbox with people having licensing inspections recently, that child should be asleep or on their way to sleep on that cot. So I hope that answers your question.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Crystal.
You're welcome. I'll go to Shelby and then to Shale. So Shelby, your hand is up.
Hi, yeah. So in like a preschool classroom of 3-year-olds, if 16 children were sleeping and you had like a group of 6 or 8 or whatever that were awake, does that count for 2 staff or you need 3?
So preschool, what is your ratio for, is it 8-to-1 in that group?
Yeah, it's 8-to-1.
Okay. And you had 16 kids sleeping?
Yeah.
If they're all asleep, you're allowed to have, I believe, 1 staff because you're 50% in your ratios when they're resting. But if any of them are awake, then those awake children have to be in the active ratios.
Okay, so yeah. if because our classroom like is licensed for 24, so if we have 24 kids in there, 16 are sleeping and 8 are awake, do we need to be active ratio with 3 staff, or is it okay that the 1 staff is with the 16 and 1 with the 8?
So you're good with the 1 with the 16 and 1 with the 8.
Okay.
But yeah, be aware if any of those 16 wake up, you now need the 3rd staff to come right back.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Shale, you're next.
Hi. So one more, my question is, we have a license for above 12 months, right? So when they go outside for the playground, can those above 12 months to 18 months, they can combine with the toddler to in the playground for play?
So from your 12 to 18 months group,
Yes.
you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, you're able to combine, as long as they're over 12 months old, you can combine in mixed age groups.
Okay, so above 12 months,
12.
we can, it's only the under 12, above 12. Yeah, then we don't have to worry because we don't have under 12. And I have one more question. You guys do the workshops, right?
Yes.
And what are the costs for the workshop, so that if I want for my staff to go for that one too?
Yeah, I mean, you just click on the link in the chat. It'll take you right through. The full cost of the workshop is PD funded. So
Okay.
yeah, there's actually nothing out of pocket for you as an operator. It's all covered by PD funding. So it's all in the chat. Just click on the link. It'll take you directly to the website. And if you have questions, just email me and I can answer them for you.
Okay. And the link is that childcarefriendly.com, lunch and learn from, right?
It's above that. You'll see.
Oh, that. Okay, it's
I just put it in
www.
again, so you'll see it.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank
You're
you.
welcome. Shelby, did you have another question, or Renee? We'll go to Renee.
No, sorry, I'm good.
Okay, perfect. Renee, you're next.
Hi. Yeah, I have a question about, so I have a preschool program, only a preschool program right now. And I am looking to open up to daycare, which takes preschool children as well, but for a full day. So with daycare, it's a 1-to-10 ratio, and preschool, there's a 1-to-12 ratio. I'm just wondering if you know anything about that. Because I'm just in a transition, so I'm just wondering if Crystal, you would know anything about, what the difference may be.
So your ratios are different from preschool to daycare, even same age groups. Your rate, like you just explained it. So in preschool, as a preschool license, you have different ratios than you would in a daycare, even for the same age groups. So if you're moving to a daycare license, you would want to just make sure that you check to see how those ratios have changed, because yeah, they are different. I have a preschool license, so your 3 to 4 year olds under a preschool license are 1 to 12, like you mentioned. Daycare, they are 1 to 10.
Okay, I think I will ask the ministry what the difference may be, only because I don't understand what the difference would be if we change to a daycare. So I'm just wondering if you would know offhand.
Like the difference between the two licenses, or the difference between,
like why the difference in ratio when you're accepting the same age group?
I think I can't speak for the ministry on this, but I think there's a lot of differences in a preschool. Under a preschool license, you have children who are there for shorter hours. So your max, I believe, is 4 hours under a preschool license, whereas for daycare, you can have them there for 10 hours, 12 hours a day, which maybe is why they need more supervision. You're also in a daycare, you have to have an outdoor space. In a preschool, you don't. So there are several differences. I don't know why the ratios are different, but I think if I had to guess, it's probably because they're with you for longer periods of time in a daycare. And yeah. But
okay, I think I will write and ask them, and maybe share it when I get a chance with everybody.
Sure.
But thank you, Crystal.
You're welcome. I don't know if there's any other questions. I don't see. Oh, Lana, did you have a question?
Yeah, that's me again. Well, my question is, I want to just like simple this question. How it is if a staff A caused a non-compliant to the center in the new regulations, there is a problem that's gonna and that's the issue will follow their certificate, the staff A, like is gonna show on their certificate, something like that you mentioned earlier?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how, like that would be up to whatever the non-compliance is, and who I would say would be at fault for that, and how the licensing decides to kind of put that non-compliance on the record. But just like we as operators have our childcare lookup, where parents or public can look our centers up and see our licensing inspections, see the non-compliances and different things, the same thing is now true for your educators. So if you have an ECE certificate, there's an ECE lookup for Alberta. Parents can go and view that. They can see if that certificate, what level it is. and if it's valid and active. And I believe they will be able to see non-compliances on there. I haven't actually looked through it in detail myself yet, but yeah, the new regulations, your educators are liable just like you are as a license holder under this. So
Sure.
that's why, yeah.
This is something new, right?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
And I mean, I mean, there's lots of reasons for this, I think. I personally believe this is a good move forward for, professionalizing our industry and our educators and making us all responsible for, the quality of care in the centers and how children are being treated. So, this way as an operator, if you're hiring someone, you can look up their certification too, and you'll have a little bit of insight into who you might be hiring as well.
Okay.
So
That's good.
Mhm.
So they can do that. And if that staff A cost and then complying to the center, it might follow their certificate, right? And
Exactly.
it might cost a penalty as well.
Yeah, they can be fined. They can have a penalty imposed on them as educators just as much as you could as a license holder.
Okay, so even the educator can like get the penalty, like 1,000 or 2, whatever, or
Up to
only
$10,000.
even the educators.
Yes.
Okay, that's different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is all new.
Yeah, that's something really new, and it's good to know, and the staff should know about it.
They should. Yep.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you.
You're welcome. Shale, did you have another question?
Yes, sorry about that. My question is that if when the licensing officer came on the day, right, and they saw that daycare, everything is in compliance, right, but the staff in the room, they did something wrong. So the complaint is against the staff, not against the daycare, right?
That I can't say 100% how that would look or how they would write that up, but in the past, all of your non-compliances were on the center. They were attached to the license of that center. The difference now is that they can be on the educators. So your educators now have that responsibility, and they can be fined, they can be penalized. The non-compliances can be directed to them, just like they could for your license of your center. So I don't know how they will. That would be an individual decision of that licensing officer at the time and whatever the situation is. But yes, absolutely, it can be directed to the educator and maybe not even the center, depending on what the situation would be.
Means like I just want more clarification on that one. That if suppose everything is compliance in the daycare, but licensing officer saw staff holding a hand, so this is means not to the daycare, but this compliance can go to the staff, right?
That could go to the staff directly. Yep.
Yes, instead of the daycare, because it's not the daycare fault. If we did everything, we provide everything, and everything is over there, and but it goes to the staff, not to the daycare, right?
It could. I like I said, I can't say that there's a
depending on situation,
table that says like
yes,
this would be for the staff, this would be for the license holder. I think as a license holder, to protect yourselves, make sure that your policies and procedures are completely up to date, and the ongoing training, making sure that your staff are trained and they understand all of the regulations, they understand all of these things that we covered here. Because if I was a licensing officer and I saw something like the situation you explained, I would want to see that the license holder has done their due diligence and making sure the staff was fully trained and understood that was wrong, right? Just to protect yourself, I think that we all as operators have a responsibility to make sure that the educators have all of the resources and are up to date on all of these things too. So yeah, I hope that answered your question.
Yeah. Means like if the staff had signed the policies, because when they got when we hired them, they read the policies, they sign them, and normally we do the workshops too and remind them on the means like our staff meetings too, right?
Exactly.
So if we did and we have a proof for that one, so it should suppose not to be to the daycare, then it's just supposed to be the other staff. Even though after that they do that one too.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to depend, but yeah, as staff absolutely have the same level of accountability that you do as a center now too.
That's good. Then that's good.
Mm-hmm.
No, then relief for us at least a little bit, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. I think we're almost at our time. We have a few minutes left. I don't know if there's any other questions. If anybody wants to turn their camera and mic on to ask anything, you're more than welcome to. But I think one of the things we always say in these is if there's topics that you want us to cover, if there's something you want more information on, you can reach out and email it to us. That's how we put these lunch and learns together. And we're more than happy to develop one, and based on something that you're looking for more information on, we can source out other experts or different people to bring on too that can answer that or help you. So yeah. Michelle.
Thank you. Yeah,
You're welcome.
do you want me just to email you or an area that I really want to look into, and I was talking to our licensing officer about this,
Sure.
is inclusive education. And they just keep giving us the list of places, contact them, and it's all like capacity support. But the way it's changing, and now with FSCD being so far behind, and it's really talking about that, how to manage an inclusive environment with diverse needs post-COVID.
Yeah, I would actually, I'd love for you to talk. I'd love to talk to you about that because we have a workshop that we're developing with some experts just specifically around what you talked about.
Okay.
And I just would love to hear if you think it would meet what you're looking for, or if there's other things. So I don't know if you have my email, but I will put it into the chat.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, reach out to me.
I have it. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, that's excellent, because that's the wave. And after COVID, we're just finding more and more children with needs, and how to handle it, and training of staff. And it's so encompassing. And
it is. Yeah. And there's the inclusive grant, is available. Well, just just coming out again. And it's such a great incentive for educators and staff and operators, I guess, to bring those supports into your center. But if you don't know how to use them, and your educators don't know how to use them, then it's an absolute waste of such amazing resources, right? So I think that we have the inclusive grant opening again, I think in September, and we're hoping to put this together just at that same time. So reach out and we can.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it. Yeah.
No problem. Well, I appreciate this was a really good turnout, and I hope we were able to answer some of the questions around regulations, and I hope that you leave here today feeling that you understand the changes and that you can implement them. But again, you have our contact information if you want more information. Please feel free to reach out. I think I should put this on as a disclaimer at the end. I do not work for licensing or children's services, so this is like interpretation and my best understanding of regulations as an operator. But if you have specific situations, that you're really wanting 100% clarification, talk to Childcare Connect, talk to your licensing officer, and make sure you know exactly what you're doing. And if we can support you with resources through Wayne and ChildFriendly to make sure that your job is easier, then reach out to Wayne and get a demo and see all of the new features that they have to offer you. And our workshop is in the chat too. If you want to bring in some more kind of regulation understanding for your center, feel free to reach out to me too. So that's it. I hope you guys have a great week. We will be back in 2 weeks, and we're going to be talking about inclusive environments with Tammy from Wintergreen, and how to set up inclusive spaces on a budget in your center. So we will see you then. But thank you so much. Thanks, Wayne.
Thank you, Crystal. Thank you so much.
Have a great week, guys. Bye.